Hello students, welcome to today's session. Today we are going to talk about type theories. The main objectives in this lesson are to understand the concept of type theories, various type theories which include Kreshmer's type theory, Sheldon's type theory, Galton's theory, Hume's typology and type A and type B theory. We all know that every person has a distinct personality. But the question is how different personalities can be distinguished. Theorists have come up with two basic means of organizing personality, by trait or by type. Personality traits are broad categories that are enduring, stable and can be observed. Personality types are groups of traits that are thought to always occur together. Type theory then is the belief that an individual's personality can be quantified into a few unique categories. It is a theory that has been around for a long time and continues to have many followers even today. Even before the advent of type theories of personality, people have been grouping individuals into sets or groups for a long time now, and it even forms an important part of certain folklore. A type is simply a class of individuals who share a common collection of characteristics. Type theories of personality examines certain broad categories of personality and then groups individuals based on the similarity with the group. So, this grouping or sets of types are called as typologies. For example, people who are shy, socially withdrawn, quiet are often categorized as introverts, and people who are talkative, sociable, outgoing are classified as extroverts. Now, let us try to find what history says about type theories. Type theory places people into categories. The ancient Greeks were among the first to determine personality in this manner. Hippocrates was a person who broke personalities into types that he called the four humors. First is sanguine, in modern language the optimistic personality. Second, choleric, the angry, moody or irritable type. Melancholic is the depressed type, and finally phlegmatic is a calm personality. Each of these categories was also associated with a bodily fluid. Sanguine is associated with blood, choleric types with yellow bile, melancholic with black bile, and finally phlegmatic type is associated with phlegm. This type was thought to represent the type of fluid most predominant in the individual. The actual personality type was determined by the percentage of each fluid the person contained. For example, an individual may be mostly sanguine, but also somewhat melancholy and phlegmatic. Of course, this was all based on philosophy. Hippocrates never actually opened anyone up to measure the quantities of these supposed fluids. Next, in ancient Indian cultures, the Charaka Samhita is a text outlining Ayurveda, which is Hindu research and beliefs regarding holistic healing. The text is thought to be more than 3000 years old. The Charaka Samhita discusses personality types in relation to natural energies and lists them as Vata, which is space or air, Pitta and Kapha, which is water, earth. Every person is said to contain some measures of all these elements, and that distribution determines a person's overall unique personality. Now, after understanding the history of type theories, let us talk about popular type theories of personality. The foremost theory here is Kreshmer's theory. Ernst Kreshmer was a professor of psychology and neurology in the University of Marburg in Germany. His great book Physique and Character was published in the year 1921. Kreshmer's typology originated in certain observations that he made in the course of his work in a mental hospital. It had long been an established fact that insane people fall into two main types. The first type, the schizophrenics, who live in a private world of fantasy and almost completely cut off from reality. The second type, the manic depressive, who are more in contact with their surroundings but are subject to alternating moods of depression and wild excitement. Kretschmer noticed that there was a tendency for these two types of mental illness to be associated with different types of physique. Schizophrenic, on the whole, tended to be narrowly built with long thin arms and legs, long necks and overall hatchet faces, while manic depressive tend to be sturdy and rounded with short, plump limbs, short necks and round or shield shaped faces. Kretschmer then carried his research beyond the mental hospital and found similar associations even outside. Long limbed, narrowly built people tend to possess the temperamental characteristics of schizophrenics, and short limbed, plump people have the temperamental characteristics of manic depressive. Kretschmer then carried out an extensive series of clinical observation and measurements and finally produced a complete classification of mental and physical types. He, however, did not really mean to imply that people can be divided into clear-cut categories either physically or mentally. They are not separate, discontinuous type, but on a continuous scale. There is no question of one type being better or worse than the other. They are simply different and each type has its own strong and its weak point. The personality types described by Kretschmer are: the first one is picnic type. In this type, people are short in height with heavy body build. They have short, thick neck. Temperament wise, these people exhibit characteristics of being social and cheerful. They are happy-go-lucky, they like to eat and sleep. Kretschmer called them cycloid, as they have high probability of falling prey to manic depressive type of psychopathology. The second one is asthenic type. People here are tall and thin with underdeveloped muscles. They are also underweight. Temperament wise, they are irritable and avoid responsibility. They have the habit of daydreaming and are lost in the world of fantasy. They are categorized as schizoid and may develop the disorder of schizophrenia. Then finally, it is athletic type. People here are muscular type and have well built muscles and are neither tall nor short. Temperament wise, they have stable and calm nature and are able to adjust themselves to changes in the environment. They are known as dysplastic type. This category includes people who do not exhibit any of the characteristics mentioned above, but are the mix of all three types. Next, we will understand Sheldon's type theory. The most ambitious attempt at a systematic typology is that of an American psychologist, W.H. Sheldon. Sheldon's initial research was carried out at University of Chicago, where he was a professor of psychology. His best known books are The Varieties of Human Physique, published in 1940, and The Varieties of Temperament, published in the year 1942. Basically, Sheldon's typology is similar to Kretschmer, but it is more detailed and systematic and makes greater use of statistical methods. He began his investigation with a study of photographs. 4,000 male students were photographed from front, back and side position, and Sheldon then arranged the photographs in series to see whether definite physical types could be distinguished. He found, as did Kretschmer, that there was a continuous scale rather than a clear-cut discontinuous categories, but three extreme types were apparent. These types Sheldon called as endomorphs, mesomorphs and ectomorphs. These terms are derived from three layers of the embryo: the endoderm, which develops into viscera and digestive system, the mesoderm, which develops into bones and muscular system, and ectoderm, which develops into skin and nervous system. But Sheldon is careful to avoid the suggestion that everyone is a clear-cut example of one or other of these three types. For this reason, he uses the term dimension or component in preference to type. All three components enter some degree into everyone's makeup, but the proportions differ for different people. Sheldon's investigation is to find whether if the different physical types were associated with different types of personality. Sheldon claims to have distinguished three characteristic groups of personality traits, each associated with a particular somatotype. These personality types are viscerotonic, which is associated with endomorphic physique. Second is somatotonic, which is associated with mesomorphic physique, and cerebrotonic, which is associated with ectomorphic physique. First, let us understand what is viscerotonic physique, which is associated with endomorphic physique. The physical features of this type are predominant of soft roundness throughout the various regions of the body. When endomorphy is dominant, the digestive viscera are massive and tend to relatively dominate the bodily economy. The personality type here is viscerotonic. The person here is relaxed in posture and movement. They like physical comfort. They like ceremony, ritual, overt expression of good form. They dislike being alone. The person is tolerant, is greedy for affection and also approval. The person here is conventional, is very well informed about people and knows who to go for what. They express their emotions freely and need people when they are in trouble. Then the next type is somatotonic, which is associated with mesomorphic physique. Physical features of this personality will be predominance of muscle, bone and connective tissue. The mesomorphic physique is normally heavy, hard and rectangular in outline. Bone and muscles are predominant and the skin is made thick by heavy underlying connective tissue. The personality type here is somatotonic, which means the person is unhesitating and aggressive in posture and movement. They like adventure and excitement. They are people who are energetic. They like to dominate people and also situations. They are insensitive to others' feelings. They have a direct manner. They are physically courageous. They are competitive and aggressive. They are basically extroverted and objective. They need action when they are in trouble. Then the third type is cerebrotonic, which is associated with ectomorphic physique. Ectomorphy means predominance of linearity and fragility. In proportion to the mass, the ectomorph has the greater surface area and hence relatively the greatest sensory exposure to the outside world. Relative to his mass, he also has the largest brain and central nervous system. The cerebrotonic is tight and restrained in posture and movement. They trip over himself and easily embarrassed. They love their privacy. They are always alert and attentive, but they are often apprehensive. They hide their feelings and keep their emotions under restraint. They shrink from social contacts, especially the new ones. Then the next important theory is Galton's theory. Sir Francis Galton was among the prominent psychologists of 19th century. He was born to a wealthy English family. He was able to devote his life to a variety of scientific enquiries. Although best known to psychologists for his pioneering work on the correlation coefficient and study of individual differences in intellectual ability, he also did fundamental research on behavioral genetics, meteorology and the use of fingerprints for identification. He viewed that individual differences are important for understanding and describing character. He continued his discussion of determining the relevant aspects of character by consulting Roger's Thesaurus and found at least 1000 words that differ slightly in meaning when describing character. This is probably the first test of the lexical hypothesis that has come to execution much in the current work of the structure of personality. Galton proposed the lexical hypothesis, which is a concept in personality psychology and psychometrics. It suggests that personality traits and differences that are most important and relevant to people eventually become a part of their language. It goes further to suggest that the most important concept in personality becomes a single descriptive words in a language. In other words, those individual differences that are most salient and socially relevant in people's life will eventually become encoded into their language. The more important such a difference, the more likely it is to become expressed as a single word. Assumptions of lexical hypothesis are: first one, the more frequently the word is used indicates the importance of a trait. For example, the words such as friendliness or honesty, which are frequently used, are important traits present in individuals. Then the second one is the number of synonyms for a word indicates the importance of difference. For example, words such as cheerful has many synonyms like happy-go-lucky, joyful, humorous, etc. There is only a suitable difference between those words and it divides the trait into many levels. Then cross-cultural presence of the word indicates universality of the trait and thus their importance. For example, the words such as hardworking or competent are present across the culture and indicate how important they are for the success of an individual. Thus, by using language as a resource and as a sample, a full spectrum and taxonomy of personality traits can be assembled. The use of lexical hypothesis began to flourish in England and German psychology in the early 20th century. The lexical hypothesis is a major foundation of the Big Five personality traits and Hexaco model of personality structure and also the 16 personality factors questionnaire. It has also been used to study the structure of personality traits in number of cultural and linguistic settings. The next typology is about Jung. Carl Jung was born on July 26, 1875. The psychologist has been vital in the world of psychology throughout his career until his death on June 6, 1961. Carl Jung established a theory which saw universal types in human personality. The type categorized by Carl Jung are present in all of us, but certain types are predominant over the normal mode of organizing our experience. His theory is one of the type theories of personality as it involved typology of introversion and extroversion. Introverts are described as people who share characteristics such as shyness, social withdrawal and tendency to talk less. Because of these characteristics, these people appear to be self-centered, unable to adjust easily in social situations. They are not easily suggestible. They are future-oriented, very sensible but rigid in their ideas. Whereas extroverts share a tendency to be outgoing, friendly, talkative and social in nature. They prefer social contacts, they are generous, sportive and courageous. They are happy-go-lucky people and show interest in present reality than future. They express their feelings openly. They take decisions quickly and act upon them quickly. They are not affected easily by difficulties. After these two types, there is another type which is an ambivert. It is seen that there are only few people who are purely introverts or purely extroverts. The majority remaining of people possess both these qualities of introverts and extroverts. Such people are called as ambiverts. This classification was made by psychologists who came after Jung. Finally, we are going to talk about type A and type B theory of personality. This theory was proposed by Friedman and Rosenman, who were both cardiologists. They discovered the type A behavior by accident when they realized, unlike other patients who waited patiently, the cardiac patients seemed unable to sit in their seats for a long time and worn out the arms of the chairs. They subsequently conducted research to show that people with type A personality ran a higher risk of heart disease and high blood pressure than type B. Here you can see the differences between type A and type B personality. Type A people are self-driven and highly competitive, whereas type B are less competitive and focused on enjoying life. Type A people are ambitious and goal-oriented, whereas type B are easygoing, relaxed and highly flexible. Type A is associated with impatience and intolerance, whereas type B are energetic, outgoing and have a laid-back attitude. Type A is also associated with aggressive and being hostile, but type B are imaginative and creative. The type A people are controlling, dominant, therefore, they also have high risk of heart diseases. Whereas type B people are light-hearted and have high levels of life satisfaction. The type B people are also fun-loving, easygoing and people-oriented. Whereas type A always are in a hurry, they are workaholics and they have sense of urgency. They are fast-paced people and they are too busy to enjoy their life. Unlike type B people who are enthusiastic, spontaneous and friendly. Because of being easily stressed out, type A personality is associated with more stressful diseases and also, as mentioned earlier, they have high risk of heart diseases. Whereas type B is a more relaxing personality, people who are highly patient, and these people are also less prone to stress. So, basically this theory concerns how people respond to stress. Type A personality is characterized by a constant feeling of working around the clock. They generally experience high level of stress. They have characteristics such as competitive, time urgency and hostility. On the other hand, type B personality is characterized by a relaxed, patient and easygoing nature. Individuals with type B personality work steadily, enjoying achievements. They do not tend to become stressed when goals are not achieved. Though this theory is low on validity, it helps us to understand which type of people are more likely to have stress and suffer from stress related illness. Now, coming to case study, let me make you aware of an interesting topic which played an important role in forming particular personality types in earlier days. It is known as eugenics. Eugenics literally means good creation. The ancient Greek philosopher Plato may have been the first person to promote the idea, although the term eugenics didn't come onto the scene until British scholar Sir Francis Galton coined it in the year 1883 in his book Enquiries into Human Faculty and its Development. Eugenics is the practice or advocacy of improving the human species by selectively mating people with specific desirable hereditary traits. It aims to reduce human suffering by breeding out diseases, disabilities and so-called undesirable characteristics from the human population. Early supporters of eugenics believed people inherited mental illness, criminal tendencies and even poverty, and that these conditions could be bred out the gene pool. Historically, eugenics encouraged people of so-called healthy, superior stock to reproduce and discourage reproduction of mentally challenged or anyone who fell outside the social norm. Eugenics was popular in America during much of the first half of 20th century, yet it earned its negative association mainly from Adolf Hitler's obsessive attempts to create a superior Aryan race. Modern eugenics, more often called as human genetic engineering, has come a long way scientifically and ethically and offers hope for treating many devastating genetic illnesses. Even so, it remains controversial as medical technology advanced. A new form of eugenics came onto the scene. Modern eugenics, better known as human genetic engineering, changes or removes genes to prevent disease, cure disease or improve your body in some significant way. But modern genetic engineering also comes with a potential cost. As technology advances, people could routinely weed out what they consider undesirable traits in their offspring. Genetic testing already allows parents to identify some disease in their child in the utero which may cause them to terminate the pregnancy. This is controversial since what exactly constitutes negative traits is open to interpretation, and many people feel that all humans have right to be born regardless of disease or that the laws of nature shouldn't be tampered with. Nevertheless, human genetic engineering, which took roots from eugenics, is a popular concept in the modern era. The potential health benefits of human gene therapy are amazing since many devastating or life-threatening illnesses could be cured. Now, let us summarize what we have learned in today's lesson. Personality types are groups of traits that are thought to always occur together. Type theories of personality examine certain broad categories of personality and groups individuals based on the similarity with the group. So, this grouping or sets of types are called as typologies. A number of thinkers have given their typological models to explain personality, some of which include Hippocrates typology, Kresheimer's typology, Sheldon's typology, Galton's theory, Jung's theory, and Friedman and Rosenz's theory. Hippocrates broke personality into types that he called the four humors. Sanguine is associated with blood, choleric type with yellow bile, melancholic type with black bile, and finally phlegmatic type is associated with phlegm. Each personality type is also determined by a specific temperament. Later, Kretschmer then carried out an extensive series of clinical observation and measurements and produced a complete classification of personality types. Picnic type, who are short in height with heavily built body type and exhibit characteristics of being social and cheerful. Asthenic type are tall and thin with underdeveloped muscles and are irritable and avoid responsibility. Athletic type are muscular type and have well built. They have stable and calm nature of personality. Sheldon's investigation was to find if the different physical types were associated with different types of personality. Sheldon claimed to have distinguished three characteristic groups of personality traits, each associated with a particular somatotype. The personality types are viscerotonic associated with endomorphic physique, somatotonic associated with mesomorphic physique, and then cerebrotonic, which is associated with ectomorphic physique. Galton proposed the lexical hypothesis, which is a concept in personality psychology and psychometrics that suggests that personality traits and differences that are the most important and relevant to people eventually become a part of their language. Carl Jung established a theory which saw universal types in human personality. His theory is one of the type theories of personality, as it involved typology of introversion and also extroversion.